The topic that I was asked to talk about is based on SABER, the Single Automated Business Exchange for Reporting. And it is a consortium of private sector companies that came together to help communicate business status between business and government, using technologies that were originally developed by the Department of Homeland Security and really perfected with the California Earthquake Clearinghouse. So all the technologies, whenever you hear business, you can substitute geologist, engineer for business. So with that as an introduction, let's take a look at what we're going to do today for a little bit. Tell you why there's a SABER and how it works and what kind of information it provides, and take a look at some of the success stories we've had. And then specifically look at Shaken Fury through the eyes of business, because we were heavily involved in Shaken Fury. And then how to get involved, whether it's a business or a geologist, earthquake scientist, or an engineer. Then why and how this can help you bring businesses into the fold, because an awful lot of this is designed to bring those second level responders into the emergency management organization. How to go about that, and then hopefully we'll have a little time at the end, and I'll actually give you some lessons from the California Earthquake Clearinghouse so we can look live at some of the things that they've done. So let's start off with the reason behind SABER. First reason is that disasters can be a real disaster for businesses. The statistics say that 40% of small businesses never reopen after a disaster, and only 29% are operating after 2 years. These numbers came from FEMA 2014 and some more recent surveys have looked at those businesses in the light of what they have lost. Because if you close a gas station for a little while, as long as the pumps aren't damaged, you have a good chance of coming back. But information technology happens to be a key component. A business without IT for 9 days goes bankrupt within a year. So whatever the angle is on loss, the opportunity to get businesses back in business faster helps reduce those chances of failure. And the little chart across the middle there shows that what SABER tries to do is be an intermediary between a bunch of business status information coming in and many different levels of government and business. It was founded originally by an organizing group that consisted of Walgreens and Walmart and Target, Macy's, a whole bunch of really big, influential and important companies. And all of them came together for the purpose of influencing government recovery priorities. Business needs to get their message to you, the government, in order to provide accurate and timely information so that you can help businesses stay in business longer and then reopen faster. There's a middle phrase there, to enable business-to-business collaboration. That actually happened about 3 years after we were operating, when businesses realized that if they were in fact sharing information among themselves, it might help. And my best example, Hurricane Maria, got a call from, and I may not have the companies right anymore, but I got a call from Sears saying, we have no diesel fuel, we have to close. But down at the end of the parking lot is a Costco and they're operating. Can you get me in touch with them? And Costco diverted some of the fuel from their next shipment to Sears so that Sears was able to remain open. So that business-to-business collaboration helped. The net is that after life-saving, we believe that a priority of the community should be to get businesses back in business. Because when that happens, you close shelters. When that happens, you end feeding. When that happens, you reduce unemployment. Because the businesses get the community back to normal far better than just about anything else. SABER itself, just to let you know, we've got some credibility. We've won awards starting in 2017, the FEMA Individual and Community Preparedness Award for Technology Innovation. 2018, the IAEM Award for the public awareness, their partners in preparedness. And last year we were a finalist for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Citizens Award for the Best Disaster Preparedness and Community Resilience Program. This little all-volunteer nonprofit came in right behind Federal Express. So we thought we did an okay job on that one. All right, why would anybody care about SABER? The key thing is that in a response recovery operation, you've got community retailers out there who have needs and government who has the job of helping. And in order to share needs to resources, there are telephones, there are emails, you may even have a WebEOC set up, but whatever that is, to a business it looks like this, of this massive opportunities out there to get some help, from short-term to long-term help, and a need to get that information to the right place when their job is trying to reopen their business. So it's a burden on business. Now, earthquake clearinghouses or business emergency operation centers have been set up to try and fill that gap, but it really requires a non-traditional technology, a non-traditional thought process about information management to help make that clearinghouse better. And that's what SABER does. That's our role, is to be the data exchange and sharing for existing organizations. And as you'll see, SABER's goal is not to be another window on your big screens in the EOC. It is to use that data to move that information into your current applications. So how do we work? Looks like this. There are 4 different ways that information gets into SABER. And we've had to do that because there are many, many different sources of information that are vital to us. The first way is a fully automated connection. And that allows a company to report out as frequently as every couple of minutes into the SABER hub. And actually, Arkansas deserves some credits because Walmart is the first company that has done that. And we're getting their information every 15 minutes, I think it is, and have a couple more lined up to do that now. So fully automated connection, untouched by human hands. Second way, and this is the most popular way that companies work. And this is the biggest companies, Costco, Sears, Macy's. When they have a problem, their operations center has a spreadsheet of all the businesses. They mark their status on it. They send it in an email up to the CEO and other executives. Our strategy was that that is a business process that they already had in place. So we originally said, copy us on that email. And we used the technology to take any kind of a spreadsheet they had, map it into National Information Exchange Model compliant data that made it shareable in a lot of different formats. We've now changed that a little bit because while they can still email it, we want to have fewer human hands on it. So there's now a website where they go in, they've got their username and password, and they can upload the information themselves. The third way, and this we actually developed for the pandemic, is a web page that a company can go to, select their chain if they run 50 stores, or select an individual store, and respond for that chain. So one entry for all 50 stores that can allow them to go in and very quickly say, yeah, we're all closed, or we are all currently using delivery only or curbside delivery only. So that website is the new addition to this, still going into that central location. And then finally, the fourth option is a commercial field reporting mobile app that allows companies, businesses, engineers, and others, and we'll talk about that later, to be able to move the information into SABER. And when it gets there, it's in a lot of different formats that allow, on the receiver side, just about any application that anybody has to consume that data, whether it's portals, whether it's a web BEOC, ArcGIS, all those different tool sets that you have, other mobile apps, or my personal favorite, a free copy of Google Earth. I can have somebody call in the middle of emergency and say, how do we see this information? And within 5 minutes on the phone, we've downloaded the free copy of Google Earth, and I've given them the link in to be able to consume the SABER business status data. So first of all, SABER is status data. What is that? Well, the information that's there maps against FEMA's ESF 14 for infrastructure and private sector and all those lifelines that are there. Food, water, and shelter are our focus. Fuel rather than electrical power. We've stayed away from that because there are huge organizations that do that. But fuel and health and medical. And we've settled on those because our members have evolved in that food and fuel, pharmaceuticals, hotels, home repair, hospitals and clinics, and a number of others, but they settled into these lifelines. And these are our focal points. In one of those, we have a major effort going on to build a national food surveillance network. We have combined with the National Association of Convenience Stores and FMI, the Food Industry Association. And we currently have 250,000 food businesses that provide all those FEMA Lifeline services inside of SABER. Collectively, that's 80% of the gas, virtually everything that anybody puts in their mouth from food, half of the bottled water, a third of all the ATMs. And in that early phase of getting businesses back into business to help the community, that's 7.2 million people and over almost $1.5 trillion worth of economy goes through this group of people that have now become intimate partners with SABER to make this available to everyone. And our data, it's very important to know that it's vetted information, and of two types. The first type is authoritative. That's something that's been provided about the company. And that is currently about 70,000 locations from those companies that you see there that are providing authoritative data that we know comes from their emergency operations center. As we add the foods, and actually this is out of date by about 10,000 because we just brought on a couple of food providers, we now then have that increasingly authoritative data coming from them. And there's a second kind of data, and when you look at the data, it's very clear which is which. It's going to say authoritative from the 7-Eleven, or it's going to say this is proxy information. There are two different forms of proxy information. The first one is we obtained satellite transceiver status from Hughes. About 50,000 locations, as you see there, fast food stores, some hotels, and folks like that. And we can tell you, or Hughes can tell us, whether that satellite transceiver is active or not. That is an indicator or a proxy for open and closed. I can't tell you it's 100%, but we tell you it's an indicator. Same thing on the prescription drug status, working with Healthcare Ready, about 66,000 pharmacies. What that says is a prescription has not been filed to the federally required database in the last 12 hours. Again, pharmacies say, hey, I don't have to file prescriptions every 12 hours if I don't have electricity. I'm just filling them, and we'll fill it and we'll do it later. So is it a definitive open or closed? No, it's a proxy for open and closed. But when you combine the two, and I see a Hardee's fast food store and a pharmacy, both of which are proxies, and they're in the same shopping center as a Dick's Sporting Goods that's closed, it gives me greater understanding of what's happening in that particular area. So very clear about the credibility of the data that we provide. So success stories, I'm going to roll through these quickly. We've got Georgia Emergency Management, I forget which hurricane this is, but they have built this beautiful, out of ArcGIS tool set, beautiful way to track the business status that is provided through SABER. South Carolina Palmetto Vision does the same thing in their different way to look at it. But again, this is what we want. We want the things that people use to have SABER data. Here's the Florida Common Operating Picture. This is Hurricane Matthews, or Matthew working its way up there. BEOC, longtime partner with the information going in there. A plain old ArcGIS Online. You can grab it, you can paste it in. Doesn't have to have anything wrapped around it, but you're able. And this was Hurricane Harvey coming up through the Houston area. And my free copy of Google Earth. Here in that, this was Maria, I think, and a very interesting indicator from Macy's and Walmart of how quickly those businesses were reporting and how quickly we were able to, by monitoring the business status, say, you know what, this is a bad event. And it took, I'll say, it took public reporting and the more routine ways in which information gets transferred among government organizations a lot longer than it took the business community to say, help. So let's take a look at Shake and Fury, having given you that little bit of a look there. Through the eyes of business. And I want to leave this thought in your minds as we talk about all those different, the 250,000 grocery stores across the country. Think of business as a human sensor. It's one more piece of information that helps you understand what's happening out there. In Shake and Fury, SABER was actually part of the simulation as well as part of the response. The 13,000 in the CUSEC area there, business location that SABER had, FEMA asked for, ran against their models, created a ground truth of what the impact on every one of those stores would be, and ended up with 4,390 of them that were affected at some level. SABER then put them in, and we served as a simulation throughout the entire 61 days of the exercise, delivering that information out in a GeoJSON format, where an ArcGIS feature service was created for the CUSEC Regional Information Sharing Portal. And that feature service then became part of what you, I think, were seeing at that time coming out of the RCOP and the RISP, totaling those 4,390 stores. So I'm just going to run you through what happened. Day 0, within minutes, 263 first reports came in. Those were ones that we knew would be early, like Walmart stores and Costco stores, very quick responders. That grew over the course of the day to 1,000 there, a few more than 1,000, and you're looking here in the CUSEC private sector status tool, 2,300 still, or 2,400 still on day 0, and moved up, and it came pretty close by the end of day 0. I think we got almost all the way to those 4,000, and it ended up finally reporting. And a couple more there, but you're seeing the different ways in which the information can be seen in bar charts and graphs and individual locations. Then SABER also has on its website the ability to see the SABER data. So if somebody's brand new, and in most cases our business clients aren't going to have an ArcGIS, so they're going to turn to SABER. And here's that same imagery on the SABER map. We used different types of icons for each one of the stores, and they're all gray. A couple little colors in there of people who were still reporting that they were open. ArcGIS Online, again, taking that CUSEC feature service that they made available to all the states and just pulling it into a plain old naked ArcGIS Online. And same information everywhere. You click on that Pizza Hut, and whether it's here, whether it's in the regional information sharing portal, whether it's over there in ArcGIS, or whether it's there in Google Earth. You're going to get the exact same information about this piece to hut when you click on that location. Here again, the Spot on Response web application. Again, showing a few bright spots, but mostly on that first day, only getting reports of closure. This is the kind of information that we were providing out to everybody on the information about that particular Walgreens in this case. And the mobile app, just to show you as the first introduction, the Spot on Response mobile app, that is the SABER mobile app, that getting the same information. At the end of, yes, this was number 1, so this is the end of the first day. We pulled that data and did a exercise report showing the Lifeline subcategory on the left-hand side, big box and convenient and home improvement in the other, total SABER members in that area, number reporting closed, and the percent closures, and continue tracking that throughout the entire exercise. And I'm not certain I have one with a lot of lines in there, but also able to pop that into, because the data is data, pop that easily into a spreadsheet and pull out this type of a problems associated with the business status. You see these blue guys over there are open but reporting their generator. These big folks over here, the 59%, are reporting problems with utilities. What's this? They have some repairs that are necessary, and a few of them must have, one of these colors must be major structural damage associated with it. So that's the kind of information, not just open, close, but that qualitative information about what's needed by the business to get back in business. That got shared out with the FEMA's National Response Center, the National Business Emergency Operations Center. And then we started tracking the response and the restoration. And we actually stayed with it over the full 61 days of the emergency. So day 1, you had a couple openings down from that 4,300. And here again, looking at the risk, the different ways in which the information can be spotted. Here somebody clicked on a pharmacy. So we're able to see the status in that pharmacy. Hard to find in the first day businesses that are open. Here, just from a color chart, we're able to see a Waffle House and a couple of others. A Sonic's open there, but most of those Walgreens and others and Walmarts are closed. And just focusing in on the ability to recognize the difference between open and closed. And what we saw was that opening was mostly on the fringes. And obviously your ArcGIS was indicating this as well, but it was the SABER data that starts to show you that we're getting restoration, but it's going to be from outside in. Here by Monday morning after the event happened, I forget whether it was Thursday or Friday, but we're starting to see some of the closing, but you can almost see based on those simulations that gave each one of these businesses a score, you can almost see the fault lines that are sitting there. Back into the RISP, this was a great way they did color coding these by county. So you were able to see what the level of losses was by county across there. Here are just a couple more illustrations of the way the data was cut. Now we're moving on further. We're down to only 737 businesses. But it's important to be able to see that pharmacies are still almost half of those. They were more affected. Fuel, the other half. Got some banks that are closed there, some home improvements closed. But their losses continue in those particular sectors. Again, the mobile app and what was available, sort of draw this to a QSEC to a close, was available data free from the federal level to the state, to the county, to the local level, and to businesses. So that's a second point that I want to make. Is data is free. So our only requirement of you is to help us get more data in, help us get more business involved, help us get your business emergency operations center and your clearinghouses using the tools so that you get better data. All right, how do businesses, or my point, earthquake, geologists, engineers, others, get involved? What you can do is any one of the 4 methods for bringing the information in. But I want to focus on what we're calling the Pocket Clearinghouse, or the Pocket BEOC. It's what you need in your pocket. It does a few things. First of all, if on the right-hand side is government, let's say, and on the left-hand side is this other tier of organizations, whether they're businesses, whether they're geoscientists working in the private sector or a member of Clearinghouse, whatever they are, they're not your first responders. So what this allows an organization to do is stay in touch with those second or third tier responders by providing situational awareness, by sending alerts, by providing informational messages, and being able to link throughout a year. And one of the things that we've done with quite a few folks is we put together a very simple app-based monthly exercise that takes people 10 minutes at absolute most to receive a message, see a problem, say this is how I would respond, and all that information gets collected back to the organization that created the exercise. You're staying in touch with all those people who you often only call upon in an emergency. So that's the first way that SABER technologies help to build that community. The second way is that members then report back to the clearinghouse or the BEOC. Whether they're sitting at their desk, whether they're using the mobile app, either way, the technology is available to deliver the information about what's happening there. And we'll take a look at some of the spot reports and other things in a minute. When that happens, not only does the clearinghouse or the BEOC now know what its members, businesses or scientists out in the field, but those reports get processed automatically through to SABER, untouched by human hands, that become available then in the EOC and mapping and public portals, wherever you want to put that data. So you have turned all those people who are doing very specific jobs and need to tell you something into human sensors out there that are reporting out to the entire organization watching this data. And once they're shared to SABER, you've seen what they do. They are there for analysis. They're out there in common operating pictures. They're able to put a whole bunch of information into even the free Google Earth. So once it gets into SABER, the data becomes doubly valuable because it is shared and used multiple times in applications that people already are using. Well, why would business care? I mean, yes, you're geologists. You can probably give it to them because, they're sort of part of the community, but a business really isn't. So why does a business care? Well, there's got to be some advantage for them. So we built into the app a set of tools that are available for the business to work with their employees and really do the same kind of emergency planning and preparedness and response that you want to do with your cities and counties and the businesses. And this focuses on employees because they're the company's most valuable asset. And what it allows them to do is employees to become involved. They get armed with the tools to be notified, to respond with their availability, to get instructions, to give reports, to check in for duty, and basically stay informed exactly the same way you want all your responder organizations to stay informed. So with that, the company can directly let their employees know information, or they can pass through information that you're providing about hazard alerts or other information. It's entirely up to the company what access they want for this information to be given to the company. The company itself has very, very specific alerting capabilities that nobody else can execute to alert their employees. And if I have my employees knowledgeable, then they are going to communicate with the company, and thus the company is going to know what's going on. The company is going to get a very simple employee status report. And you may not be able to read this, but blue is no status, green says I'm okay, yellow says there's some sort of special condition or I'm going to be late to work, whatever they want it to say, and red says I'm not available, I'm not showing up. So within minutes of the earthquake, if somebody's standing there and their house has been severely damaged and the second thing on their mind is going to work, they're going to be able to say, nope, don't count on me. That goes back to the business and it can retain there entirely. Does not get shared out to everybody else. That is information that is private to the company. So over on the right-hand side, whether the executive is driving to work and looking on his phone and trying to see how many of his employees are going to be there, or whether the HR person or someone is sitting at her desk in the emergency management office or the operations center for the business, everybody knows the status of employees and are able to get that in ways. So there's a value for business and lots of other ones. There are job aids that are built in here that we built with the National Association of Convenience Stores and other tool sets. So there's value at the level of SABER that you can do in all four of the different ways. There's value for getting that information in and having those thousands of field reporters out there. And there's value for the business itself that is going to get benefit from the employees on knowing their employees' work, whether they're checking into their duty stations, whether they're going to have their pictures of the local store, whether it was damaged or not, and that employee is made safer throughout the entire process. So that's another tier that can be a benefit for the businesses if you bring them into this emergency management setting. And that Pocket Clearinghouse, Pocket BEOC, gets you that most important, accurate, timely business status information through this very simple process of getting status, getting details of the context of the emergency that you see over there on the right-hand side, and making them all available in whatever technologies are being used. Okay, what should everyone do next? The first thing is enroll in SABER. That gets you access to the data. There is in any state, and there are 34, 5, 6 of them, and a handful of Arkansas actually is, but a handful of the other Q6 states are as well. Gets you the data. All you have to do is register, and online documents tell you exactly how to use our new big data platform. We now can handle millions of businesses out there. The second way to action to take place now is encourage businesses or your engineering company to join SABER. They can pick from any of the 4 different modes to get the status data in. They can get the SABER mobile app for businesses or their associations so they can create that information. And you help them get ready for the next emergency through those exercises or other means that I just described. Plus, in their own organization, they're going to improve their business emergency preparedness and response. So that's the second thing that you can do related to SABER right now. And then the third thing is, at your state or county level, you can organize that local status data. So far, we've really talked. SABER has only been able to focus on national footprint organizations, regional food stores through the associations. But in Arkansas, there are businesses that we're never ever going to hear of. Those can come in through either you just directly tell them to go to SABER or get your BEOC or your clearinghouse using and giving out the SABER mobile app to those businesses. That then makes you the centerpiece not only of organizing these businesses and other geoscience organizations, but it also gets you that first tier of information that you can control. Because in the other methods, you're getting information that SABER thinks is good. Now you can cultivate your own locally based information set so that you know exactly who is doing what and you're able to pull that information together for your own purposes. So 3 different ways for SABER. First one, just sign up and start using the data. Hand it off to your GIS people. Secondly, encourage your businesses to join. That doesn't cost anything. We welcome them in. The only thing we ask is that we can put their name on the website. And thirdly is at your state level, you can be doing exactly the same thing we're doing nationally. So those are the key elements of what SABER is. And what I want to do now is conclude by giving you what hopefully we have here a live look. And what you got there are my granddaughters. A live look at a exercise the California Earthquake Clearinghouse did. And yeah, we got a couple of minutes. I'll give you a quick glimpse at the Clearinghouse mobile app that has been used now in multiple iterations as it's improved over the last 6-7 years, something like that. In January, we announced that this is available to any earthquake clearinghouse at no cost. The clearinghouse, while they helped us get some contract money in the state of California, paid some for it. The tool set is freely available to any clearinghouse. And it is also the basis, using different data inside, but the basis for the SABER mobile app as well. So what I just want to do on the left-hand side is I'm mirroring the image from my phone. On the right-hand side is a business. This is the Golden Guardian exercise that took place for the San Andreas Fault exercise. I'm going to guess this was 2016, 17, something like that. So it's been around for a while. The mobile app has exactly the same mapping information as you get on your web page. If I want to find out what this is, I can click on that red symbol. It's a landslide that's been designated as unsafe, and it's multiple houses are affected. And over here, that little symbol, and many of these symbols were created by the Earthquake Clearinghouse. So this is ground failure. Liquefaction is unsafe, and there is building damage at that location. So just a little bit of information. If I come over here, I can look through that list of information and I discover, oh yes, over here we do have some things that are closed. If I click on this one, we find out that it's the Bay Bridge entrance ramp that has been closed. And what it's going to provide for me is, if I zoom in here, it's going to show you that if my job now has been to work with the Bay Bridge closure, this is going to be the information that I start to get about the Bay Bridge. And there we are. It's closed between Yerba Buena Island, and I happen to be over here, and it gives me the driving directions in the blue line out to that location. So if I've received an assignment saying, hey, you're an engineer, we hear there's some damage on this block, we want you to go out and do an inspection. Again, the Earthquake Clearinghouse uses volunteers to do their level of seismic inspection. This is not the official building inspection. It's being done by others. But it provides the information for them to do that kind of inspection. And When that takes place, they're going to report it along with other information. And what I'm going to do is come over here on the right-hand side just to give you a picture of what some of that other kind of information is. Here's the Parnassus Medical Center. And on this one, if I want to get there, I'm going to zip over here, and it's now going to tell me how to get to the Parnassus Medical Center right down the street from me. But what it has is some other information. It's got some planning information. So if I'm supposed to be an emergency responder and I want to know what the organization is doing at that time, I can take a look and see that their emergency plan, in fact, is this, and I should expect those businesses, that hospital, to be doing that. If I'm about to make an entry and I want to find out what their floor plan looks like, they have built this set of tools in here as part of their pre-planning efforts. So that variety of different kinds of tools are available through the SABER mobile app to clearinghouses and others. So with that, I think we're probably approaching my time, but just wanted to give you a flavor of that with actually one more thing now that I'm remembering it. Let's pull this one up. It's a different version. This is actually the real clearinghouse, and they just had an exercise done relatively recently. And wanted to show you the kinds of data that the clearinghouse is collecting. They built this with the U.S. Geological Survey. This is my fault rupture data set, and I've got my different types of fault rupture, my offset feature types. I've got my vector measurements that are in there, after slip measurements associated with it. I've got another set of information here for liquefaction, landslide, lifelines, buildings, instrumentation, tsunamis that you folks don't have to worry about. Let's just take a look at liquefaction. I've got site information here that I describe, the effect, whether I've got the sand blows. I heard somebody mention sand blows recently, whether those exist here, what kind of displacement I had for those specific sand blows. And then I'm able to have this located, actually gives you an illustration here, located on the map. This is probably somebody's attempt to say this is the fault rupture that we just saw. Here's a damage area in that polygon that's there. Or over here, we've got a specific school that's damaged. And we're able to pull that up and find out what the situation is with that school that has been reported in. That's probably by an engineer. So it's that kind of real-time dynamic information. And again, it's up to the runner of this, in this case, the California Earthquake Clearinghouse, what they want to do with that information, which pieces of it they want to share out with SABER. I would say I'm probably going to be sharing out the location information and the damage information, but I'm maybe not sharing out, except to selected people, the specific information about the length of the sand blow or whatever. But that's entirely up to them. So lots of different kinds of information and lots of different ways to put it in. The last one that I'm going to show you here are the spot report. And a spot report says, hey, I'm here, so I just saw something. I click on the spot report. I can say, hey, this is just a report. This is something that you ought to watch. Hey, we've got some limited access here, or this is something that is closed and we really need to pay attention to it. So if I want to set up a spot watch, I can come over here, click, and basically it allows me to start dictating right into this item here that is, as you see it, filling out the odd words that I'm saying. But I use the tool set to dictate right into it, and I can select type, severity, a couple of other things, but real quick feature that allows me to go off. And then if I want to, actually, what the heck, I'm here. This is what you just saw. I'm taking a picture of my screen, and I'll do that. And it's going to come up here and it's going to tell me that, yes, I want an OK. And that picture is now part of the record. And that is now working its way when I submit back to everybody's in the system. And again, if you want that shared out because it's hazard information, you want it shared out from the clearinghouse to the state, which they usually do, or the clearinghouse to SABER, which then shares it out to businesses, that's entirely up to you. So I think that's probably as much of a fire hose as you needed for this morning. And I think we've got questions available, some question time and some breakouts. So looking forward to seeing, and I will stop sharing right now.